In today's video, I'm going to show you how to stipple and how to crosshatch forms. So the first thing I did, number one, if you're drawing any kind of a form, any kind of a basic geometric form, you want to use tracers, straight edges, stuff like that. So I used a roll of ribbon to trace the circle, which will eventually be my sphere, and then I used the straight edge of this pencil lead case, and then for the bottom curve I actually used this roll of tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crosshatch the sphere, and I'm going to stipple the cone. Now, when you are crosshatching, if you use a pen that is too broad of a tip, it's going to be very difficult to get your light values in, to get your 1s and 2s and 3s. Well, your 1s are easy because you just leave the white of the paper. But to do your 2s and 3 values, it is going to be near impossible, especially on a piece this small. It's going to be near impossible to get that value, those light values, with this broad Sharpie. So I'm using a 0.5 millimeter. And actually, I'll do this because I know this is what most of you have. But if you have like the micron pens, I'll show you my Sharpie collection. If you have like a 0.3, or there's a 0.0, here it is, a 0.05. Nope, that's a 0.5. Yeah. Where is it? It's in here somewhere. Well, this is a 0.1. So that's a very small, very fine point. And that would work the best. Like the finer the tip you have, the easier it's going to be to get those lighter values, obviously, because you're putting less ink down. So I'm going to use a 0.5, and I'm just going to have to make it work. So I'm going to shade these. I seem to always make my light source come from the top left, so why change it up now? So if my light source is coming from the top left, I know that my highlight's going to be here. My darkest value, my 10 value, is going to be right through here. And something that I like to do, whether I'm shading with a ebony pencil, an art pencil, or whether I'm using stippling or crosshatching, something I like to do is just kind of put guide marks in so that I know like where those values are going to change. So this would be a 1, this would be a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then my 10 is going to hit right here. And then underneath here is going to be like a 7 and then 8. So for crosshatching, what I'm going to do is actually going this way is much more difficult than going this way. And when I crosshatch, or even when I shade, I want to be sure to follow the shape of the form that I'm trying to create. In other words, I want this to look like a ball. So as I do these crosshatchings, I'm curving my lines to help create, to help sell that illusion. So I'm going to go in one direction. I want to be really careful on the edges because I do not want to, if I make a mark that's not inside that sphere, like that's it, I'm stuck with that. So I think I've been using this pen quite a bit, and this is one of the dollar store pens. I think it's finally starting to, might be finally starting to give out on me, which sometimes it's not totally a bad thing. Sometimes you get a nice unintentional gray value from a pen that's on its last legs. A little bit more forgiving. Now I'm drawing this in a small sketchbook of mine. And when you do this, the bigger you draw these forms, the more forgiving it's going to be. Because you've got, like, you notice that I didn't even have room when I drew my lines here, my 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and my 1 value. Like, I didn't even have enough space to put a divider for each value. I just have to know. If I drew it bigger, I would have been able to put that in. So right now I'm not going as dark as I absolutely need to go, because right now I'm still just going in that one direction. So I'm gonna end up putting another series of lines in here that's gonna go the other way. And I'll tell you, this is where practice really pays off. Is being able to control my pen when I'm right on these edges here. So for you, you might take a little bit longer just to make sure that you don't accidentally color outside the lines. Now, I'm going to go this way. And you'll see that if you didn't notice, like, one of the first things I did was I drew a couple lines, like almost like guidelines, so that I have something to follow to help guide me along the contour of this sphere. I'll do it again over here because this is the other side of the sphere. Like, I'm going to get some straight lines in here, right on that middle access point, and then it's going to start curving this way. So that's what I do. So you can, I don't know if you can see that or not, but those curves get more pronounced as they go towards, I gotta remember to do something at 320, so I'm gonna write down that before I forget. And this is going to be dark also, so I'm not really concerned about not extending past this. But I do want to make sure that I follow that contour. I went a little over there. I have to extend the surface of the ball there. Cover up my mistakes. And as long as you're not doing like scribble scrabble, like if you're doing your 10 value, it's not the end of the world if you go in both directions. Like you'll notice I'm doing that, but I'm doing it pretty methodically. Like I'm not just sugar 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 sugar. That's an official art term, sugar sugar sugar. So people will tell you, like, absolutely only go in one direction. But after doing this for so long, like, sometimes you just develop bad habits. So you might see me do something that I had previously told you not to do, and sometimes it's just a bad habit that has showed up. And it's funny how many guys there are, how many people there are out there who are like professionals and masters at what they do, who have developed terrible habits. One of the best examples I can think of is a guy named Dizzy Gillespie, who's a famous trumpet player. And another thing too, sometimes it's good to have a paper, because the oil from your hand is going to grab, especially if the paper is still wet. So it's a good thing, especially if you're a lefty. Lefties seem to struggle with this the most. Like to not pick stuff up, not smear your drawing, because smearing your drawing with a pencil, well, that's easy to fix. You just erase it, right? But I tell you, smear it with a Sharpie. You smear Sharpie on your drawing, you are You are done. Anyways, back to Dizzy Gillespie. I mean, if you're in band, you hear your band teacher tell you all the time, you know, trumpet players, sax players, don't puff your cheeks. Because what happens is, if you puff your cheeks, you end up stretching your face out. And if you've never seen a picture of Dizzy Gillespie or a video of him, one of my favorite songs is Salt Peanuts. And it's a jam. So you go go watch a YouTube video, Salt Peanuts, Dizzy Gillespie, and it's a good song. It's a boom, salt peanut. But anyways, you watch his face when he blows his horn, and man, he looks like a frog. Just his whole like neck just bulges. It's crazy. Doesn't even look human. So this is still not dark enough, so I'm going to go back and do that, but I want to be careful. So I might come up here and work a little bit in my 2 and 3 value areas, just so I've got something to connect to, so I'm not looking at all this empty space. So I'm going to take this, I'm gonna redraw that highlight. Yeah, just gonna very lightly. Careful. Shh, careful. So what I'm doing is I'm actually getting my ink pen in motion, and I'm just kind of, as I move it, I just kind of, if I don't touch the paper, that's okay. There we go. Hey, easy. There we go. So I've got that. There we go. Man, it's crazy what a difference it makes when you're actually moving in the direction that your wrist wants to go naturally. Just whoop, 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 eep. Sometimes making sounds helps me. Alright, so now I've got something to attach to as I work my way up. I'm gonna work light to dark for a little bit longer, I think. I'm for light values, I'm pretty dark here at this point, so I'm not gonna need much in terms of actually like crossing these hatches. Now I should wait because my ink might not be totally dry yet, but that little pencil mark was bothering me. Shake my hands out a little bit. So I've got a couple spots here. I don't know if you can see them, but like here, here. I've got some areas that have gone almost into that 10 range in terms of value. So I can't undo that, but what I can do is kind of soften, or not soften, but darken the areas around them to make them not so pronounced. And that worked. And you'll notice too that as my like I'm doing these kind of curved lines, but as it moves up towards the top of the ball, of the top of the sphere, like that curve becomes more and more pronounced. So keep that in mind too. Now I want to match. I want to be at this value. I'll darken it up a little bit. And I think I'm there. And I'll use lines going in the other direction to kind of smooth those, kind of help define the edge of this sphere and kind of blend those values in. And I think I'm done. I might go through and kind of do a couple more, maybe up here in these lighter areas. Not much though, not much. Just easy, easy. That's it. And then to shade the shadow, you would just use straight lines. You wouldn't have to. I mean, if it's on a table, the table is flat. You would just use. I mean, you could do. I would use lines going this way, and then maybe also like on an angle, but they would be straight lines. So that's how to do cross hatching on a sphere. And I might go through, and at this point it's just a matter of going back and kind of picking at little tiny areas, making sure you get it right, making sure that you don't have any glaring spots that are too much white or too much black, well, I mean, if you got areas that are too much black, then you're just out of luck. But I've got some spots here that I could darken in. But yeah, there you have it. I might make this 10 value come all the way down to here. Right, there we go.